On this edition for Saturday, October 2nd, Democrats divided, no deal on the president's big bills. How Seattle's Vietnamese community is helping Afghan refugees.
No one in the world ever gets what they want, and that is beautiful.
And what keeps the band They Might Be Giants making music 40 years on? Next on PBS NewsHour Weekend.
PBS NewsHour Weekend is made possible by Sue and Edgar Wackenheim III, Bernard and Denise Schwartz, the Cheryl and Philip Milstein family, the Anderson Family Fund, the JPB Foundation, the estate of Worthington Mayo Smith, Leonard and Norma Clorfine, the Rosalind P. Walter Foundation, Koo and Patricia Ewan, committed to bridging cultural differences in our communities, Barbara Hope Zuckerberg. We try to live in the moment, to not miss what's right in front of us. At Mutual of America, we believe taking care of tomorrow can help you make the most of today. Mutual of America Financial Group, retirement services and investments.
For 25 years, Consumer Cellular's goal has been to provide wireless service that helps people communicate and connect. We offer a variety of no-contract plans, and our U.S.-based customer service team can help find one that fits you. To learn more, visit consumercellular.tv.
Additional support has been provided by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, a private corporation funded by the American people, and by contributions to your PBS station from viewers like you. Thank you.
Good evening and thank you for joining us. Democrats remain divided today after failing to reach a deal on how to pass two of President Joe Biden's major spending bills. The president left the White House this morning for a weekend at his Wilmington, Delaware home, telling reporters he still believes both his infrastructure package and a larger social spending bill will be approved.
I think we will get them passed.
This afternoon, the Senate approved a 30-day measure to keep transportation systems running, which the House approved yesterday. In a statement today, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi said that funding will need to be renewed by October 31st and said she wants a vote on the infrastructure package to happen before then. In cities across the nation, protesters held rallies and marches for reproductive rights today.
My body, my choice!
From Cleveland, Ohio, Phoenix, Arizona, to Washington, D.C., the Women's March, which started in 2017, focused on abortion rights and coming legal battles. Several thousand marched to the Supreme Court after a rally in the Capitol this afternoon. We will have more on the abortion rights legal cases after the news summary. More than 700,000 people have died from COVID in the U.S., making it the deadliest pandemic in American history. The country crossed this latest threshold even as the daily average of new COVID-19 cases fell 27% over the last 2 weeks. There were 100,000 deaths in the last 3.5 months. The vast majority of people who died during that period were unvaccinated, although vaccines are widely available. A map based on the New York Times database shows the highest death rates are in the Southeast, where vaccination rates trail other parts of the country. U.S. Women's Soccer League Commissioner Lisa Baird has resigned after less than 2 years on the job. The league announced Baird's resignation late yesterday, just a day after news broke that two players accused former North Carolina Courage coach Paul Riley of sexual coercion and misconduct. Riley, who denies the allegations, was fired on Thursday. League games scheduled for this weekend were canceled. The U.S. Soccer Federation says it will conduct an independent investigation. Delegates from around the world are gearing up for next month's UN climate conference in Glasgow, Scotland. At a preparatory meeting in Milan, Italy today, delegates agreed they must deliver on a $100 billion per year pledge to help vulnerable nations address climate change. U.S. climate envoy John Kerry told those at the meeting that he believes, quote, enormous progress can be made in Scotland, but he also said that trillions of dollars would be required to tackle the climate challenge. Abortion rights marches today focused on a Texas law making its way through the lower courts, which restricts access to abortions. The Supreme Court begins its new term Monday with a case on the docket stemming from a Mississippi law that banned most abortions at 15 weeks of pregnancy. For more on the legal cases, I spoke with Mary Ziegler, a professor at Florida State University College of Law and author of the book Abortion and the Law in America, Roe v. Wade to the Present. So, Professor Ziegler, one of the things that people have been concerned about since the passage of the Texas law is how it would impact other parts of the country. Are there lots of other states that are trying their own versions of this law? Are they concerned now that there are kind of challenges and there might be roadblocks ahead?
There's several governors of conservative states who've said they're going to look into passing this law or pledged to pass the law. The momentum slowed down a little bit in the week since, I think in part because these challenges have arisen and made it seem as if maybe this law will not be able to prevent abortion from happening in the state of Texas. The other thing that's happened, of course, is that the plaintiffs who have come forward have not been people that the Right to Life movement might have chosen. So there's also a threat that if you pass this law, you lose control of the message. So I think there's been more of a sense among red state governors that maybe the best solution is to wait for the Supreme Court to reconsider Roe v. Wade in 2021, 2022, rather than passing this law in the short term.
Let's talk a little bit about what is coming down the road to the Supreme Court and why is that case for Mississippi so important?
So the Supreme Court is hearing a case, Dobbs versus Jackson Women's Health Organization, which addresses a Mississippi law that bans abortion at 15 weeks, which is the point at which the state says fetal pain is possible. Most scientific research doesn't support that and suggests that pain takes place much later in pregnancy. But what's significant is that 15 weeks is well before fetal viability, which is that point at which survival outside of the womb is possible. And that usually takes place around 24 weeks, so well after the 15-week mark. The Supreme Court, since Roe v. Wade, has said that there's a right to choose abortion before viability. So if the court is going to uphold this law as we expect it to, the court will either have to overrule Roe entirely or will have to say that pre-viability bans are okay and potentially open the door to all kinds of legislation and to a decision overruling Roe down the road.
So if it seems like either, in a way, Texas sets its precedent and is upheld, but inevitably you will have other states possibly creating their own rules in response, and then you've got challenges that will bubble up to the Supreme Court. If it's not this case from Mississippi, the court is likely to hear about abortion again.
Absolutely. There are two cases that the court is debating taking at the moment. Both involve what's often referred to as reasons bans, so laws that say you can't have an abortion in cases, for example, of a diagnosis of Down syndrome or for purposes of sex selection. The court could decide to take those cases anytime, right? And that's to say nothing of the dozens of cases that are further in the pipeline, including heartbeat bills. So regardless of what the court does this summer, we should expect to see the court roll back abortion rights significantly or reverse Roe entirely in the next couple of years.
Professor Mary Ziegler from Florida State University College of Law. Thanks so much for joining us.
My pleasure. Thanks.
For more national and international news, visit pbs.org/newshour. As shocking as the recent Afghan evacuations was to most Americans, it was also a painful reminder to many Vietnamese Americans, many of whom experienced an evacuation nightmare and refugee crisis of their own after the fall of Saigon in 1975. Now, the Vietnamese American community in Seattle is reaching out and welcoming Afghan refugees. NewsHour Weekend special correspondent Mike Saray reports as part of our ongoing series, Chasing the Dream, Poverty and Opportunity in America.
So I was sitting there and just watching the news going by and just looking at these horrific images that just trigger a lot for me.
Nguyen Nguyen lost her mother and two siblings during their family's escape from Vietnam by boat. Like tens of thousands of other Vietnamese refugees who eventually made it to the U.S. in the 70s and 80s, they depended on the generosity of many Americans to find a home and start a new life.
At the end of the day, humanity is a common denominator. You know, we all want a safe roof over our head. We want a brighter future for our children. We just want hope.
If we were to replicate this, because I've seen a lot of trainings on it.
Nguyen helped start Viets for Afghans, Vietnamese Americans in the Seattle area, helping newly arriving Afghans navigate their way through their refugee crisis.
And I think that both Vietnamese and Afghans also share, unfortunately, this feeling of abandonment. We were in this to fight with the U.S., and then the U.S. left us.
Tan's father was a Vietnamese army officer who fled his country after the communist takeover. She is her family's first American-born child.
It's an integral part of who I am because I was raised by refugees and I was raised by people who went through that trauma.
For financial sponsorship.
Didi Tron, also the daughter of Vietnamese refugees, has an even more recent and personal connection to the plight of Afghan refugees. An Army veteran who served in Afghanistan, she's now trying to help her former Afghan translator and others resettle in the U.S.
It's been healing as a veteran to give back in this way. It's also been healing as a daughter of refugees to give back in this way.
My name is Thuy.
The group enlisted Dr. Thuy Do and her husband Jesse Robbins, along with more than 100 other families, mostly Vietnamese Americans, to agree to temporarily share their homes and rental properties in the Seattle area with the new Afghan arrivals like Abdul Qadiri and his family.
My family came over with 2 sets of clothes per person and about $300. And that's all we had in the world. 45 years ago, on the Port of Saigon, this was the Vietnamese community. This was exactly us. Different culture, different people, different language. I'm sure very similar sentiments, very similar fear, very similar desperation, very similar hopes of a better future in the U.S.
Washington State has a proud history of welcoming Vietnamese refugees, starting shortly after the fall of Saigon in 1975. As their numbers swelled at the refugee tent city, constructed at the Camp Pendleton Marine Base in California, with no place to go next, Washington's then Governor, Daniel Evans, offered the state's help in initially relocating 500 Vietnam refugees to the Seattle area.
I thought to just leave them after they had helped us was not a very moral thing to do.
And Vietnamese Americans, especially those who are here in Washington, have never forgotten that, his generosity.
The Vietnam refugee exodus spanned nearly 3 decades. The state's Vietnamese community has since grown to more than 70,000. Most of the initial Afghan refugee assistance in the Seattle area and elsewhere is being coordinated by the same mostly faith-based relief agencies, like World Relief, that were born out of the Vietnam refugee crisis.
I do see an uptick into the amount of immigrants and former refugees stepping into what we're doing, but they have always been there because the reason is that they have been in the shoes of the newcomers that we're helping to begin their lives.
Madar Ngueta, a former refugee from Chad, heads up World Relief's Afghan resettlement efforts in the Seattle area, which are supported by state and federal funding as well as public donations.
Health, economic empowerment, education, all of those things come only when you have a place that you call a home, only when you have housing.
In addition to the current housing crisis, relief agencies and the local Afghan community are also concerned with how different Americans' views on immigration are now than they were during the Vietnam era, especially since 9/11.
And when it comes from an Islamic country, I think it reinforces that idea of that we don't want immigrations because we don't want these people's beliefs and ideologies.
A former U.S. military interpreter who immigrated here in 2015, Naveed Hamadi heads up Seattle's Afghan Health Network and the local Muslim community's outreach efforts for recent Afghan arrivals, like Azira, who just arrived earlier in the week.
We have direct connect with all the newcomers and the old ones. Compared to other states, Washington is fairly progressive and very welcoming.
Seattle's official welcome starts on arrival at SeaTac Airport. Relief agencies are allowed to meet the refugees at the gate and take them to a private receiving area away from the normal airport confusion, while their caseworkers organize luggage, transportation, and a hotel room. Abdul Ahmadi, a caseworker with Lutheran Community Services Northwest, an Afghan refugee himself in 2015, was able to find Haroon Habibi's family an apartment, get their 6 kids enrolled in local schools, and registered with Social Security to start job interviews within the first month of their arrival.
Abdul was a great help for me. He picked up from the airport and brought us to the hotel, and from there he worked with us and Like in 4 days, he rented an apartment.
We have to work very hard to find a nice and a good place near to school and supermarkets, safe area. So we finally find it. We had to work hard.
I have a neighbor here. I call him Uncle Danny. He helped me a lot. He is asking me like if I need any help anytime, every day.
Uncle Denny is Dennis Dunn, their new neighbor and longtime area resident.
And I see how difficult it is, because it's just like you say, you're dropped off, and you have some help, you have some services, but it's not everything you need.
The largest Vietnamese language television network produced an 8-hour telethon that raised more than $160,000 from the Vietnamese community to support Afghan refugees.
That's extraordinary. And one of the families that contributed had been helped by Lutheran Immigrant Services.
People have contacted us all around the country, wanted to see how they can actually start something similar in their state.
Seattle's tradition of welcoming refugees, like Yuyen's family years ago, is being passed between two different generations and between two very different cultures.
There have been many ways to enter the orbit of They Might Be Giants, an eccentric musical group that has been writing and recording together for the last 40 years. From the early 1980s New York City art scene to MTV music videos to television theme songs, it's a band that has never stopped creating. NewsHour Weekend's Christopher Booker caught up with the founding members of the band as they get ready to release a new album and embark on a tour.
The world of They Might Be Giants is a curious one. From esoteric projects like their Dial-A-Song service that allowed anyone to call in and listen to one of their recordings on an answering machine, to their steady, beloved presence in the alternative music world, the eccentric output of high school friends John Linnell and John Flansburgh never seems to slow.
We're especially lucky in the fan department because our audience doesn't mind it when we do stuff that's unusual. It's not always that way. I mean, there are lots of bands that do great work, and then at a certain point, it's almost like the world says, like, thank you very much. We've had enough of you. You can leave now. Contemporaries that we came up with who had much greater success than we have definitely gotten the, like, reality check, like, wouldn't be a bad idea to just let it go for a little while.
Cut your losses.
Yeah.
Kind of
so
thing.
and that's, I mean, to a certain extent, it's always been a bit of a struggle for us. To a certain extent, we've always had a lot of small lucky breaks.
But maybe the key really, I mean, I don't know if this is true, but it seems like the fact that we didn't have one explosive blowout success kind of allowed us to think, oh yeah, we're still chasing that ultimate high, man.
Yeah, still got it.
Through the years, there have been flirtations with chart success, most notably from their third album, Flood. Released in 1990, it was a staple of college radio in the years just before Nirvana's Nevermind blew up the music scene. With double entendres, clever idioms, and unreliable narrators, the music of They Might Be Giants traveled through the grunge years as a subversive alternative to alternative. A happy band with a key-changing, bouncing sound that could make you dance, but dance to songs that lyrically could be as dark as they come.
We've always kind of tossed in some super dire, high-voltage death trip lyrics that kind of offset the merriment of a melody.
The melodies are like the nice smell coming from the flypaper, that eventually traps everybody. You're older than you've ever been, and now you're even older, and now you're
Their ability to create these offbeat melodic traps has allowed the band to move between genres and mediums. From television theme shows like Malcolm in the Middle to a collection of critically acclaimed children's albums.
C is for conifers, my kind of trees.
And later this month, they'll move into another medium, releasing an album of new material and a book as well, featuring original photographs by Brooklyn street photographer Brian Carlson and illustrated They Might Be Giants lyrics by graphic designer Paul Sayre. The project was recorded and completed before and during the pandemic.
And this is album 500? I mean,
Yes, 500th album.
Difficult 500. Like everybody's career gets messier and messier as you go along because you have like compilation albums, and do those count? And do live albums count? Do children's albums count? Among our fans who do not like our children's work, there was a interval on the fan wiki where they were not including the children's albums as canon.
The TMBG Wiki is a fan-generated online database of all things They Might Be Giants. If you want to know what the cover of the Japanese release of their album Lincoln looked like, or where the band played and what their set list was on February 10th, 1995, you can find it there.
Well, you actually wind up relying on this wiki, the TMBG Wiki, to look up whether we played somewhere, when the last time we played, and they even list the set list and everything. So it's for old people whose memories are not what they used to be. It's an amazing, beautiful resource.
I have to admit, I have used the They Might Be Giants fan wiki to figure out if songs have been released. I mean, sometimes I feel like we're running out of nouns. We can't write another song about a dog. We can't write another song about birds. It's cross it off.
But yet the fire's still there to write and record. I mean,
it doesn't get easier, but yeah, we're still struggling. And I can't get out from under this, but I'm always feeling intense self-doubt as we're completing the project. I feel like this is the worst thing we've ever done. And then it's only after we're done and the smoke is cleared, I'm like, oh yeah, okay, that was good, and this is okay, this is fine.
But after 23 albums, 2 Grammy Awards, and an upcoming tour in celebration of their album Flood, in which nearly every show is sold out, it may seem such anxiety is ill-founded, but self-doubt and the questioning of one's accomplishments have been a part of their artistic exploration from the very beginning.
No one in the world ever gets what they want, and that is beautiful. Everybody dies frustrated and sad, and that is beautiful.
have you gotten what you want?
We don't have a specific goal that once we've completed, we're done. I mean, that's sort of what we've been saying, I guess. So we'll die frustrated and sad, in other words. Yes, and that's beautiful.
This is PBS NewsHour Weekend, Saturday.
Finally tonight, yet another sign that climate change is here, affecting some of the largest geological forms on Earth. In the Alps, Mont Blanc is the apex, the tallest mountain in Western Europe, but new measurements released this week show that it has lost nearly 3 feet since 2017. Warming temperatures have led to glaciers on the mountain rapidly melting. As a result, Mont Blanc has been shrinking for more than a decade. The French team that completed the survey acknowledged that the summit's altitude has always varied, as the height of snowdrifts and ice naturally change from year to year. But the steady downward trend in their biennial survey leaves no doubt the so-called roof of Europe is getting shorter. It's not the only iconic mountain to undergo a recent altitude adjustment. The world's tallest mountain, Everest, has actually grown by 3 feet. That's according to expeditions by Chinese and Nepali surveyors last year. While it might not seem like much in the context of a nearly 30,000-foot mountain, it makes a big difference to those who climb.
We have to respect anything that becomes plus. The increase in height is a source of huge pride for Nepal and Nepalese people, so it's a big deal.
Scientists say that the same plate tectonics that form the Himalayas are responsible for Everest's ongoing growth spurt, believed to be as much as 1.6 feet a century. But geologists warn that those same forces can also cause sudden shrinking. After the 7.8 magnitude earthquakes entered in Nepal in 2015, some researchers thought Everest might have been cut down a few feet. But either way, a future earthquake in this region may very well erase eons of growth. That's all for this edition of PBS NewsHour Weekend. For the latest news updates, visit pbs.org/newshour. I'm Hari Srinivasan. Thanks for watching. Stay healthy and have a good night.
PBS NewsHour Weekend is made possible by Sue and Edgar Wackenheim III, Bernard and Denise Schwartz, the Cheryl and Philip Milstein family, the Anderson Family Fund, the JPB Foundation, the estate of Worthington Mayo Smith, Leonard and Norma Clorfine, the Rosalind P. Walter Foundation, Koo and Patricia Ewan, committed to bridging cultural differences in our communities, Barbara Hope Zuckerberg. We try to live in the moment, to not miss what's right in front of us. At Mutual of America, we believe taking care of tomorrow can help you make the most of today. Mutual of America Financial Group, retirement services and investments. Additional support has been provided by Consumer Cellular and by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, a private corporation funded by the American people, and by contributions to your PBS station from viewers like you. Thank you.
You're watching PBS.